I don't know. I haven't figured out how this is going to work, but what I know is my friends and my family have been telling me for years that I needed to do a podcast by myself. And I guess this is my attempt to do that.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk about cannabis,
community violation, code green plant.
Hello and welcome to Code Green Plant. I haven't really come up with a name for what this is, but it's a stem, a seedling, a leaf of Code Green Plant. Simply Vibin with Christi, Chanelle right now until I come up with a different name for my solo podcast. Well, it's really weird because it's not like I'm still Code Green Plant. I don't know. I haven't figured out how this is going to work, but what I know is my friends and my family have been telling me for years that I needed to do a podcast by myself. And I guess this is my attempt to do that. I always kind of told them no, like I don't know how to just talk by myself. Like I need people to play off of, I need people to debate with, I need people to discuss things with. But you don't know until you try it. So I'm here trying it because of the belief in me that my family and friends have. So here's my thought process on this whole thing. I will record an episode and release my solo episode every Friday at midnight. And my main podcast, which is still Code Green Plant with Phoebe and I, that's still going to be every Wednesday at midnight. So now you're going to get 2 episodes a week from Code Green Plant and Simply Vibin. And I hope that you'll listen to this one too. I have so much to say, I really do, about cannabis. Cannabis is, I have been researching cannabis for 5 years, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with cannabis, and it's because of how it can help people. And maybe my love of cannabis started when I was younger, and I was raised in a household that smoked. My parents weren't mean, and my parents weren't angry. I had a great childhood, so anything and everything that I identify cannabis with is good stuff. It makes my heart warm. It makes my heart happy because I no longer have my mom, and I lost her when I was 25, and she was a couple of days away from being 45. So all the years I had with her, she was a smoker. She was a cannabis smoker. And I didn't see a problem with it. And as I've said before on other platforms, I never had a problem with it. I just learned very early that this wasn't something that you could share with your neighbors, share with your friends, that my mom smoked weed. You just couldn't do that. My relationship with cannabis is a very, very loving relationship with cannabis because I identify it with my mom. And my mom was a badass woman who was my best friend, and I even put it in my yearbook, and she absolutely was. So part of my story, let's say a good 50% of it, stems from my mom, because like I said, I grew up in a household with cannabis, but also my mom was an everyday smoker, a couple of times a day smoker, career-minded woman, had a family, had a husband, and yet she discovered later that she had bipolar. So while she was doing all of this, she was trying to balance out a mental disorder, and where she would have extreme highs and extreme lows, and it was hard for her to cope, where she would be sleeping a lot or extremely excited. Like, I'm a very theatrical type person. I'm animated. I talk with my hands. My mom was also very animated. She was very, excited and stuff like that. Well, imagine me, but raise that up by 25%. That was her. It's really cool, actually, because whenever I did something really good, it's like just watching her reaction, I think, what it was all about, because I really enjoyed telling her something good because her reaction was just even better than whatever I told her. So cannabis helped her streamline her emotions, and she didn't realize that she had bipolar. I know that a lot of people nowadays are dealing with this, and they have to take medicine for it. But I also think, I'm not a doctor, but I also think that there are alternatives out there for people. And I have this platform to share it with you and know that it's coming from a place of love and a place of me wanting you to be safe and healthy and happy. I'm not getting paid to do this in any way, shape, or form. Every episode is made with the love of the plant, the love of sharing, the love of podcasting. I have just learned that I really love podcasting. My favorite part is actually editing. I think I would love to do this every day. I would love to edit every day. It's like creating a show, and I'm pretty good at it. This is my baby. Code Green Plant is my baby. Simply Vibin is my baby. It's made with love. Everything that's happened is made with love. And so we film episodes every Saturday. I go home and then I will edit and do the outtakes, which I think is actually one of my favorite things to do. I will go home and I'll do all the outtakes, and I'll add funny music to it, and I'll kind of cut it up so that it's got like a little story, a mini story to it. And then I'll chop it up and I'll put it out on social media, on all the platforms. And then I will go and I will create the final episode, and I'll chop that up and I'll put it on social media. And so, yeah, I do all that, and I've gotten a routine down, and I think that I can add another one to my list because I love it that much, So just know that everything I'm sharing from the heart. It's out of love. I'm not making any money off of it. So if I mention products or brands or anything that has to do with that, it's just simply because I like them or I think they may help you. I am no doctor, and everything I'm saying is coming from my own opinion and my own perspective. And I hope you'll hang out with me and give me somebody to hang out with and talk to. I just want to talk to you. I hope that you talk back. You need to reach out to me. And then on my YouTube version, I will show you the information, the contact information below. If there's any questions that you have for me, put it in the comments and I will cover it. I will make sure that I get all the information and I will definitely cover it. I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous about putting my own episode out there every Friday, but what have I got to lose? Really? It's not like I could lose money or health or anything from it. Just kind of go for it. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I may talk about terpenes one day. I may talk about cannabinoids the next day. I may talk about hot topics one day. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm here to share, and I hope you'll hang out. I've been in the business for 5 years in cannabis. I lost my mom to prescription medicine, and she was not an addict. She was prescribed medicine for her bipolar. She fell down the stairs, and a fill-in doctor, she did not have to go into their office, but a fill-in doctor prescribed her a medication that I'm not going to say here that she took, and it stopped her heart. I don't know how or why. I think it was the combination of everything, but it did stop her heart, and she passed away at 44. This has made me highly sensitive to prescription medicine, and I know that my mom would use cannabis before she was diagnosed with bipolar, and she was alive. And then she was prescribed medicine, and she was no longer alive. But that's why I'm sharing this with you. If I can help anyone, if I can be a part of your journey in any way, I want to be. Yeah, I've got a lot to say. So 5 years ago, I mean, can you believe it's been 5 years? 5 years ago, I had an idea to start a hemp business. Yeah, I had never had a business, much less knew anything about hemp. I just knew that there was a good chance that it was going to be legalized. So I guess this was 2017, maybe it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years. Holy crap. Anyway, so I was like, I think this is about to be legal. And hemp sounds cool. I mean, I could totally get down with some hemp. It's natural. It can clothe you, feed you, put a roof over your head. There's so much you can do with hemp. It's just ridiculous how much you can do with hemp. And so I was like, I can get behind this. So I started studying and kind of finding out all about it. And watching the laws and watching if they could vote on it, I started hearing rumblings like they're going to vote on it. And then in 2018, it became legal and I was like freaking out. I sat there on my granny's ranch and I sat there in the big recliner and just was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a freaking millionaire. Yeah, not really, but I was hoping that we were going to grow hemp on the land at that point. That didn't really turn out well. And I decided at that point that maybe that's not the direction I wanted to go in. Like I was thinking, we'll grow it, we'll do this. That is a very, very expensive business. So that didn't pan out because I am like bootstrapping it here, people. Like everything that we do, I am paying for. So I am bootstrapping it. So anyway, we decided I forgot to mention, back then in 2017 and 18, I had a partner. We were 50-50 on this company. She was kind of the money behind it, and I was kind of the sweat equity part behind it. I came up with the name Simply Vibin, bought the domain, which she taught me. That came from her. I trademarked it. Hold on, let me call my son. He's at the homecoming dance. And he just texted me that he needs me to send him his ticket, but I read that I don't have to send it to him.
Hello?
Hi there, buddy. Your ticket. I read something yesterday that you just have to go in there and they have everybody's name on a list that bought a ticket already.
Okay, love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I don't even know what I was saying. Oh, how I got into okay, so my partner, Renee, we were 50-50. I came up with the name. She told me what I need to always do whenever you have a business, you definitely want to go check the domain. So go to a site like GoDaddy, type in the business name that you want, and then make sure that the .com is available. If you see the .net, I wouldn't get it because that means somebody else out there has that exact same name that is using the .com, and you want to be the only one they're looking for. You'd hate for them to get confused between you and this other place. So anyway, that's the first thing I did. I started putting all these names in the GoDaddy search site. And then I was like, I knew it has to be cool. It's cannabis. It has to be cool. So I was like, vibin. I started coming up with that. And then I was like, Simply Vibin. Simply Vibin. Like that has multiple meanings to me. And so it was available. So I got the .com, which is now worth about $6,000 because of all of my marketing and social media stuff I'm doing out there, which is a whole nother conversation that we need to have because I've got a lot of experience in this area. But anyway, so I got the .com, I got the trademark, which means nobody can use Simply Vibin out there, which is kind of cool. So it's another asset that I own. And then I realized that we can't do hemp. So I knew that we had to do, I wanted to do cannabis, of course. I've always wanted to do cannabis, but CBD was like the latest and hottest thing to do. And I knew it was a cannabinoid that was really working. It was working. I think at the time I didn't realize that you don't really want to isolate any of the cannabinoids by themselves because they don't have that entourage effect that you should be using for your body and your endocannabinoid system. So I didn't know that at the time. I'm much more educated on that now. I was like, we could do... Actually, it was not my idea. This is Renee's idea. She's like, we can do like maybe a subscription box. And I'm like, because she was always getting subscription boxes delivered. And they had all these different kinds at that point. And I'm like, okay, maybe that might work. So we created a subscription box, and I'm going to show you a picture of that right now in the YouTube version so you can kind of see what it looks like. Beautiful box. Created a beautiful box. It was black and it was shiny. And then inside you'd open it up and it had this red tissue paper and it had this message from us on the back. And then we had all these CBD products on the inside. And it was just really good. It was $100 subscription box easily. The level we had in there easily was really good brands. Like I partnered with a couple of really, really good brands. I learned a little bit about the advertising, but I think if anything, it taught me a lot because we weren't able to market it. And I didn't know that we weren't able to market it until I tried to market it. And then I learned that cannabis cannot be said online on certain platforms. Well, at that point, all platforms. You cannot say cannabis or they can take you down, take your video down, everything. Well, if you can't say CBD, which you also could not say, and you can't say cannabis, how can you sell anything? You absolutely cannot sell anything. So I have this box. We prepaid for all of it. I had this box, and we could not get rid of it. Of course, we sold some locally between the people that we knew, but we could not sell it online. And that was the business model, was to sell these things online and get these subscriptions and then change out the products every month. Sounds like a freaking fantastic idea. It is. It absolutely is. I would not stick with CBD solely. I would probably go a different route today. But back then, CBD was the only cannabinoid people were talking about besides THC. So we went that route. Yeah, it didn't work. So when we were done, I said, I can't do cannabis. So I tried to go in these other avenues. I'm like, oh my God, if I just even switched industries, I'd be able to market. I'd be able to do all of this stuff. And life would be so much easier. Because I mean, I'm talking like Facebook took my Simply Vibin. Like I couldn't do ads. They wouldn't let me do ads. Even though hemp was legal and CBD was legal, they didn't know enough about it. So they just totally took my ability to market at all away completely. It was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. But it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot. So I ventured off of that for a little while. And then I came back. I just was sitting there one day and I was like, my partner really isn't involved in anything that I'm really doing. She's got a full life. She's got a whole career. She's got, 3 children that she's a single mom. She was going through her own issues and could not be present where I really needed her to be present. This is really what it comes down to. I needed a business partner that I could talk to. I needed a business partner that would be available because that's what I want for my life. But if I had a business partner that didn't want that for their life, you're not going to get very far. You're just going to stay, like on a unicycle, not a unicycle, a bicycle, a sitting bicycle, You're going to stay in that spot cycling and not going anywhere. And so that's what it felt like. And it was really difficult because I love this person. I love her. Like she's amazing. And she is such a kind-hearted person. And I've never really talked about this publicly. I started to realize, okay, so either we dissolve Simply Vibin or she gives it to me because I don't think that I can be partners on this anymore. And it took about 6 months of me being very patient to see where it was going to go. Because like I said, we were 50-50. She didn't have to give me anything. She didn't have to. She could say, no, I choose to dissolve this. And I would have. So in the meantime, I start Christi Chanelle LLC. So now I've had a new business because I'm like, I am moving forward with this. Do I get to move forward with my Simply Vibin brand or do I have to go Christi Chanelle brand? And, I wasn't sure which direction I had to go. As soon as I bought Christi Chanelle, the LLC, and got it started, she let me know. She called me and she's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to give you Simply Vibin. We weren't making any money at that point. We had lost money. So it wasn't like, there was a whole lot she was giving me except for the name and the trademark, which is what I wanted because I loved the name Simply Vibin. I'm very, very appreciative for that because not everybody would be that easygoing. They're like, oh, you want something, do you? Well, so do I. Not everybody's that kind-hearted, and she was, and I'm very, very thankful for that. All of a sudden, I have Simply Vibin back, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, the heavens opened up, and I was just like, oh, because I had my baby. I had done all the work for it. I had done all the social media for it. I started Simply Vibin. I did all the work for it. And now it was mine. What do I want to do with it? And so I always wanted to have my own product. I always wanted to carry a Simply Vibin product, but I was taking my time. I want to do it right. I've already been a part of something that failed. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing something that would work, that had legs. I thought gummies, but I couldn't do gummies yet. So I held off on that. I held off on gummies right away. The first thing that I got manufactured was a Simply Vibin facial serum. It's a hemp seed, all natural facial serum. I use it every day. And now I've already made a promise to you that I'm going to be 100% with you. I will be 100% with you. I promise you. When I tell you that I use this every day, I mean that. I use it every day. My friends will be the first ones to tell you that I sleep in my makeup. I have no makeup routine. I don't use any moisturizers. Listen, I'm not bragging about that. I am not bragging about it. I just am very low maintenance, and I'm like, whatever. Like, I wake up and my hair's wet when I wake up. I blow dry my little wings right here, my little wings, but the rest of my hair is natural air dried. I don't use hairspray. I don't use anything. I'm not saying I never use hairspray, but I don't on a daily basis. I do when I'm like, want to look really good and I'm going out. Right now, no hairspray. So my point is, I want to do the bare minimum and keep it moving. And then we created a Simply Vibin beard oil. We currently carry those. I do want to, in January, launch gummies. I have to be prepared for that because remember how I just told you that people take you down with you say the word cannabis, they'll take you down. So GoDaddy took that down for me. They took down my payment processor on my website, simplyvibin.com. And all I was selling was facial serum and beard oil. So now, knowing that, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to put those gummies up there if I don't protect myself. That includes a banking system, a place that I can bank with that will be able to allow me to sell hemp-derived products. This is not cannabis. First of all, cannabis is both hemp and weed, okay? Everybody, it's the same damn plant. The only difference is the THC levels. That is it. In any case, so when you say the word cannabis, you're talking about the whole plant, which is hemp as well. Anyway, I knew that I could not sell hemp-derived cannabis products on my website without being protected in that way because I don't want anybody to come along and say you can't have your money. So it needs to be done correctly. Even though, like I just said, hemp is legal. So anyway, that's what we're working on now. That's why we haven't launched our gummies. But they're coming, and I've already been testing them on people, and they love them. I love them. Now, they're going to be 10 milligrams, and the only thing about that is I don't need the whole 10. Like, I'm a glass of wine type girl, maybe a glass and a half. I do not drink alcohol. So what I'm saying is whatever that glass of wine and a half would do for me is what I want done for me without drinking alcohol. So I typically take a 10 milligram gummy and I split it into quarters. And then I take 1/4 of that gummy. So it's basically 2.5 is what I'm looking at. And that works really, really well for me. And that's what I take. I don't even know how I got here. And I was worried that I wouldn't have anything to talk about. I have been talking for literally 30 minutes straight. And I don't even know where I'm at this point. I was telling you about Renee. So Renee gave me the company 100%. I was sole owner. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I love working with somebody. Like, that's why I didn't work with Renee, because I like that camaraderie. I like to talk to people. I like to bounce ideas back and forth and come up with something great. I asked Phoebe if she would want to come in and be a business partner, and I trust Phoebe. So that's why I asked her to be a part of this business. At the same time, I was starting to get the idea. Well, I always had the idea to create a podcast. I wanted to create a podcast, but I didn't want to do it by myself, which is irony right now, because here I am doing it by myself. So I asked a friend of mine, Christi, if she would want to help with the podcast. She jumped at the opportunity. She was like, hell yeah, I want to. I have a video that's going viral. It's like a video clip, a short. And it's me and her in this clip in our very first, like one of our first recordings. And so it's her and I, and I'm talking about my mom, like I just did just now. I'm talking about my mom. And that video clip on Facebook is now, I think, at like 135,000 people. And it keeps getting shared, and I keep getting followers from it, and people keep commenting and talking about it. And that we're going to discuss in next Friday's episode. I want to talk about, and I want to read the comments that people are leaving for me, because they are so vulnerable and special, and I want to talk about it. We need to touch on it, and maybe it'll connect with you hearing somebody else talk about something that you're going through. I knew I was onto something. Like this clip, I knew I was onto something. Like, holy crap. Like, this is like when it got 5,000 views, I was jumping up and down. But it kept going and going and going. I'm like, oh my God, we just reached 100,000. Like, this was like monumental to me. But anyway, we'll get back into that. I just wanted to touch on it and let you know that the podcasting thing, I was like, we're on to something. But it was actually Christi that came up with Code Green Plant, because I was telling her, I was like, you got to speak in code on these social media platforms. And when you're speaking in code, that's how you can kind of sell it without really selling it, So I learned different techniques and different ways in marketing that I was able to connect my message without verbally saying it. And by doing that, that's why she's like, well, you know what? We need to call it Code Green Plant, because it's a code. You're speaking in code. And I'm like, you are freaking brilliant, Christi. You are just freaking brilliant. So besides that, she does my voiceover for my podcast intro, and she does my voiceover for my podcast outro. And her husband, Tim, is the one that kind of did the music to the intro and the outro as well. So they are directly involved in my podcast every single day. She was very pivotal, and I hope to get her back into the crew on this podcast, because she's really an invaluable part of the team, and she's just stepped away for a little while, but hopefully she'll come back. But anyway, so she stepped away, and I decided I did still need a co-host. Well, I asked Phoebe, I was like, do you want to come on and be like a guest for one of my podcast episodes? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And so we did. We recorded that first episode, and I was like, that was really easy. That really, really works. And asked her if she wanted to be a permanent guest on Code Green Plant. I figured, when you have a guest on, you are kind of learning about who that guest is. And so maybe you need to know about us a little bit more. If you're listening to this on a podcast streaming platform, maybe throw a like. I don't even know. Can you throw a like button? If you can throw a like button at me. Let me know that you appreciate this and you like this idea to do this podcast every Friday. So we'll just kind of play it by ear and let it roll and see where we're going. But please let me know if you like it. Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys more than you will ever know. I don't care if there's only one person listening to me every week. Let's be friends. Let's hang out. Let me accompany you on your drive, or while you're washing the dishes, or while you're in your living room sewing. I don't know. Hell, I don't know what everybody's doing. I know I'm not sewing, so that was probably a really bad example. Why would I assume you were sewing? I don't know. Anyway, I love you guys. I truly love you guys, and I hope you stay safe, you make good choices, and one of those good choices is to come back and listen to Christi Chanelle on Simply Vibe with me. Okay, that was corny, so I'm just gonna say I hope one of your good choices is to come back and hang out with me. I will see you next Friday. Actually, I will see you next Wednesday, and then again on Friday. Have a great day. Bye now.
This episode of Code Green Plant was sponsored by Simply Vibin LLC. Code Green Plant is a Simply Vibin production hosted by Christi Chanelle, with music produced and mixed by Timothy McGee. This podcast is not intended to be used for medical advice and is solely the opinion of the host. Please consult your physician. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Want more? Visit www.simplyvibin.com. We appreciate you simply vibing with us.
Code Green Plant.